We've all been there. We've been on the start line of a race and the gun goes and we shoot off as fast as we can.
Yes, whether it's a local 5K or a big city marathon, a sprint triathlon or an Ironman, we've all at some point gone off too fast and then felt the consequences later on.
You know I definitely have. It's almost my trademark move.
I was going to say.
So today we're looking at the difference, if there is a difference, between pacing and not pacing.
No matter who you speak to in the sport, pacing is considered one of the most important factors when it comes to getting a personal best. And the same goes when you look across all three sports of triathlon. You want to try and have best average pace that's more likely to get you that fastest time. So you want to make sure that you're starting at a pace you know you can hold. So basically being realistic with your predictions and not going out too fast. Are you ready for some science? Well, a scientific study has proven that your optimal pacing strategy for a 5K race is to actually head out of that first mile 3% quicker than your goal pace. Yeah, I was surprised as well, but it is a fine line because if you're as quick as 6% faster than your goal pace, that could end up being a disastrous effect on your overall time. Then take it to a marathon and things flip the other way around, whereas they've proven there that you actually want to start off the first few miles 3% slower than your goal pace to achieve your optimum time. Your goal race pace should correspond with your aerobic threshold, and if you start to go too much above that, you're basically going to be heading into the red and it'll come back to bite you later on. So try to make sure you don't go more than 10 to 15 seconds faster than that predicted pace, then you'll hopefully get to the finish still feeling strong. And there's good examples of wonderful pacing. You just need to take Eliud Kipchoge's sub 2-hour marathon challenge, where he had a car with the lights on the road so he could follow that exactly to the T, and then he still had a little bit left in the tank to speed up at the end. And then also, if you look to the hour record on the velodrome, you've got Victor Campenaerts, who managed to maintain pretty much the same pace of 221 laps, just varying by 1/4 of a second at the most. On the other hand, bad pacing can have all sorts of consequences, as Mark knows. And if that's not quite enough to convince you, well, pretty much every world record in running, male and female, from 1500 meters all the way up to marathon has been achieved by a negative split. Now, negative split is when you do the second half of your race faster than your first. So I think there's plenty of evidence that good pacing, and sometimes in some situations negative splits, is the best way to get a personal best. But here at GTN, we like to put things through the test. So it's time to send Mark out to see just what difference good pacing can make.
Well, unfortunately, I've picked the short straw on this one. I have got to test this one out. I will be comparing a paced 5K versus a non-paced 5K. Fortunately though, I did quite recently do a pretty well-paced 5K as part of our 5K series. I posted a time of 15:41. That works out roughly around 3:08 to 3:10 per kilometre. And I'm in a pretty similar shape, maybe a couple of seconds slower over the 5K. So the scientific research, as we touched on already, does show that there is a significant performance decrease if we run that first mile at around 6% faster or above than our target pace. So for this, for the non-paced one, I'm actually going to run at around 8% faster. So that works out somewhere around 2:55 per kilometre. And see if I can hang on and still come in with that time somewhere in the region of 15:41. That's the plan, anyway. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. .254 through the first kilometre, so pretty much on pace. Heart rate very high. Dropped off significantly. 3:15. It's pretty sorry to bite. well, I'm glad that's done. I do not want to do that again. That was absolutely awful. I did get pretty pumped up for it. I used that adrenaline at the start and I went out hard. I think I was pretty much bang on with that 2:55 per kilometre to start off with. And then I just tried to hang on. Unfortunately, that pace dropped off significantly towards the end. And when I compare that to that well-paced 5K that I did as part of the series just quite recently, I managed to hold a pretty consistent pace there, and actually I gained a lot towards the end of that 5K versus this one I did where the pace was just horrific. It just felt like I went into the red really early on, and unfortunately I was still trying to hold quite a high pace that I just couldn't recover. I couldn't get myself out of that red. So it was a really horrible experience actually, and when I think back to when I did that well-paced one, I felt quite in control. I felt like I was almost building in. Obviously it was hard and I was working my maximum, but it was a much more pleasant experience and I got a quicker time. All right, that was a pretty short and rough example, but I think it's pretty clear. Good pacing is really important. But how do we go about improving our pacing without necessarily having to go into races to get that experience?
Or you can simply just mix up the pace that you're running at within your training sessions. And a couple of really good sessions are your fartlek or your progressive run, both of which have varied pace within them. And it gives you that opportunity to experience how they feel of running at different speeds.
You can also do intervals at your target pace. Again, it's about that feeling, getting used to that and dialing into the pace. Naturally, what you'll find is it will feel quite easy at the start and you'll be having to hold yourself back. But as those intervals go on, it will start to bite and you'll start to feel it and it will start to hurt a little bit. And it's just getting that experience in, learning how that feels and taking that forwards to race day.
Yeah, and that's it, all it is really. And you can take it from, obviously just from your running, but also across swimming and cycling. So whenever you're out, just keep an eye on what speed you're running at and think about how that feels. And within no time, you'll be on your way to a personal best.
Well, there we go. Pacing versus no pacing. I think it's quite clear what we're looking at here. It's all about the pacing. Let us know what you think about this video in the comments below. Also, any experiences, any triumphs with pacing, any disasters with your pacing, also love to hear them.
Yeah, we'd love to hear all of those. If you've enjoyed it, give us a like, and remember, you can check out our social media channels and follow us there as well.